He's the voice of college football for ESPN, ABC, and also tennis host for the mothership as well. Chris Fowler on the program. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Dan. I'm well. I'm very, very blissful, very relaxed this morning. So I've done my breathing exercises, which is a daily ritual in quarantine. So I'm relaxed. Don't talk too loudly or too quickly, and don't be angry or controversial, and we'll do just fine this morning.
Okay.
But it's a natural. I assure you, it's a natural high.
Do you watch any college football replays or anything?
Is it doing it for you? I mean,
No.
I watched the Texas USC game, the Rose Bowl Classic game, which I stood on the sidelines and watched Vince Young run to the pylon, and was the greatest game I've ever seen. So when ESPN ran that the other week, I did watch it. I have not been dialed into the classic games. I know people are starving for it, and that's able to fill the void for them. It's not doing it for me. I am missing live sports, maybe not as much as some people or as much as I thought I was, but I am not glued to YouTube or ESPN Classic locked in. I probably shouldn't say that, but I don't know. I probably will watch some vintage Wimbledon when it gets around time to Wimbledon. I'll be missing that, and obviously, if we don't start football on time, I'll be starting for it. I'll probably watch LSU Clemson 10 times, but I haven't done a lot of that yet.
All right, let's jump into it then. You mentioned that we're 20 Saturdays away from the scheduled start of college football, and you threw out some questions there. You also said informed speculation here. So where do you want to start with the college football season?
Well, people are all over the place. There's no consensus. Just like when you hear the experts differ on how to deal with this virus going forward, there's no two people on the same page in college football. The commissioners are having these regular conversations. The coaches are doing their thing. Each athletic director has its own take depending on where they are in the country. So we're not going to know a lot for a while. I think the clarity will begin to happen during May, but I just don't get the sense that the country's going to be in the same place, and these programs and these conferences are going to be at the same place in late July, August, when you absolutely have to get players back on campus if you're going to play. And it's not what people want to hear, but I think there's severe challenges trying to start a season on time. And if you don't do that, and everybody wants, that's what you hope for. God, we hope for things. But if hope isn't a strategy unless you got truth and facts, right? We've already seen that. So what's realistic? And I don't know if it's really realistic to gather in 20 Saturdays and have a national season. I mean, you're going to have a lot of colleges online exclusively this summer. The campuses won't even be open. So how can you bring this unpaid workforce back in there and say, hey, we're playing games, without a bunch of people going, wait, why are we playing? What do we do? There's a lot of questions and not very many answers, right? The idea of a delayed season, even a season early in 21 in the spring, which seems radical to people. To others find it just undoable, but it might be a way to salvage football in the calendar, or the school year, I should say, if it can't be salvaged in the fall.
Informed speculation. Informed speculation on what in particular you were talking about?
Well, what's likely going to happen? I mean, what are the challenges to getting things up and running on time? There are a lot of them. I mean, do you think this is in the same place in New York and California and Louisiana and Texas and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida and Utah? I mean, we're all over the place.
Yeah.
This virus is cresting in different places in the cycle. I mean, the South really hasn't been hit yet, but do you think there's going to be states that are spared? People are viewing this in the lens of where they are and not realizing, look, 50 governors don't have to sign off for football to come back. I mean, I've been told that. Not every single athletic director and commissioner has to be exactly on the same page. But what if one area of the country is totally different from another? What if the West is ready to open up quicker, but the Northeast of the Big Ten isn't? I mean, what are you going to do? You can have a partial season? It doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, I know that there's going to be no perfect solution, Dan. And I know that people go crazy when they think that we can't wait until February or March. But if you need the revenue, if you operate under the assumption that these conferences have got to get on the field at some point, or the revenue loss is going to be catastrophic to the whole athletic department, not just football, then you're not dealing with ideal scenarios. You're dealing with desperation and trying to make it work. That's why.
He's Chris Fowler, the voice of college football for ESPN and ABC. I'm also wondering, though, Chris, do we minimize the regular season and maybe try to maximize postseason, and that we do make that leap from Final Four to 8 or 16?
Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table because these are such uncharted times, and nobody knows what's the best thing to do. If you start the season late, let's say you're not going to be ready August, you start the season in October, November, you cut some games, you alter the postseason. I don't think there's going to be 30 bowl games played under a lot of these scenarios, but the playoffs, what's important, that's where the dollars are in the big bowls. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you could shorten the season. You could do away with the non-conference. That's been talked about, too. Everything's been talked about. All this is on the table. But I don't know. I mean, you know, the conversations that are going on in other sports are even more radical than what's going on in college football. Just in the desperation to have a baseball season, what they're talking about, what the NHL is contemplating. The NFL is going to get heavy political pressure to start on time and operate normally. And, you know, a lot of these owners will feel the financial pinch, believe it or not. I mean, they're all super wealthy. But you take away that revenue, they're going to feel the pinch if they don't have a season on time. The networks will apply their pressure. The NFL is far less complicated than college football, though. Nothing is as complicated in getting everybody together and up and running as college football. I mean, there's no central control.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's my big concern here is you don't have that one voice. You know, Adam Silver with the NBA, Rob Manfred with baseball, Roger Goodell with the NFL, and then you get to college football and you go,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what's going on. You're having the Power 5 commissioners who are not the deciders, but they're the ones that have to get together and run the scenarios and be ready for whatever is decided. But you know, they tell me, you know, the municipalities, the states, they're the ones who shut things down, and they're the ones that are going to be turning things back on. And so you got to listen to, you know, the governors and the mayors of cities like San Francisco and New York and Chicago and Dallas, and those are the ones that are going to decide. You know, the states, you know, this battle back and forth we've seen play out at these briefings the last couple of days. I mean, the states are saying, wait a minute, we decided what's right for us, and the cities, in fact, specifically, we're going to decide what's right for us going forward. And that's the way it's going to be. So that's why I started with. How are you going to be on the same page? Who knows what it's going to be like when the states not yet affected really begin to build in these numbers, you know.
Well, then you have Dabo.
I think it's a rush to get back on the field. I mean, a lot of coaches are saying stuff that are tone deaf. So
wait, you're the one that has to breathe. You're the one that was in a Zen-like mood. Now you're getting a little riled up here.
I am.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath here. Well, then you have, you know, Mike Gundy, and then you have Dabo Sweeney, who are, you know, they throw this out. We're coming back, and like somehow we can. Hey, you know, the coronavirus doesn't affect us, or we're coming back May 1st. And I went, we can't have these proclamations here. We can't go rogue.
Well, no, you can't. And I think that's the thing, though, that the coaches are paid to be ready for any scenario, and they have to plan and get ready for an on-time season, because that's the first scenario that's on the table. As unlikely to some people as that seems, that's what you have to plan for. I talked to a bunch of coaches. I'm going to do another video on what kinds of programs are going to be able to come through this and thrive, and what programs are really going to struggle. What does it take within the program to weather this? And so in trying to get their opinions, it's obvious that they are preparing for an on-time season like you have to. And you have to be hopeful and optimistic. That's what coaches are. But you also have to have perspective and a sense of priorities. And these are not pro athletes, man. If your campus is closed, if your campus has said it's not ready, we're not ready for students to come back. But football players, get your butts back in here, put you in quarantine. We'll take your temperature every day. You're going to prepare to go out and perform so we can get this cash cow flowing again. Wait a minute. I mean, don't you think a lot of players are going to say, wait a minute, we won't do that. You're deciding for us a public health issue when the rest of everybody else is operating on different rules. I know they want to play. I get it. and they feel invulnerable, Dan. You know that there's no segment of society that feels more bulletproof, more able to withstand something than males aged 18 to 22.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the age group that's going to feel like we're not high risk. We're not going to get sick. If we get symptoms, we're going to kick its ass. Okay, I understand. That's your mindset. But this is so new and unique and unknowable that you just got to err on the side of caution and safety. It's an unpaid workforce. For once, let's not take them for granted and let's consider their needs. Does that just make sense?
Yeah, I get it. And you're right. 18 through 22, you're like, hey, I'm going to live forever. But,
there's a reason why in history, those are the people that you put out to fight your wars, because they're the ones that'll jump into the fray and be fearless and feel like it's not going to happen to them.
Hey, I wanted to ask you this before I let you go. You hand out the Heisman every year, and Joe Burrow won it, obviously. But what strikes you about his personality?
Extreme confidence. I have never run into anybody. He's cocky. Let's just say it. And it's okay because he went and backed it up. Yeah. We had the meetings before the championship game. Kirk and I both came out of it going, I have never seen a guy or a team with more supreme belief they're going to kick the ass of a really good team, the defending champs who won 20-some in a row, whose defense and defense coordinator have these proven credentials. Joe Burrow had absolutely zero doubt that game was going to unfold exactly as it did. And I thought, wow, man, and that's a leader. I know that he's not that way when you walk around him in everyday life, but you put him in game mode, and he was very much in game mode in this meeting. And he walks on the field with supreme belief. So I know what people think. He's overrated, not worthy of a top pick, got his limitations, Tua is better. I promise you, in his head and his heart, he believes there's nobody better than him. And he'll believe that he's ready from day one. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at that position. That's what strikes me about him. He is, also he's like a 40-year-old soul in a much younger body, super, super mature, very bright. I mean, so all those things that are going to wow the teams are there.
If Tua was healthy, and you saw them both, you're the Bengals, who would you take?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not in that position. Teams have flunked those questions for years. I mean, Tua throws a prettier ball. I mean, Tua it's watching him throw the ball in person for the first time is one of those wow moments. Like, I've never seen the ball come out of a guy's hand. It's beautiful. Joe doesn't throw like that. He just doesn't. He throws great ball. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, a lot of his spirals are not tight. They're not spun. They get there. He's an incredibly instinctive and incredibly accurate thrower. But what struck me when I watched him in person was he's not as pretty of a thrower with football as I thought, but he's way more athletic. Burrow is quick. He's faster than you think. He's elusive. He's instinctive. All those things are hard to quantify in a workout. But Tua throwing the ball in a workout, and I know that hip thing is something I'd be a little bit concerned about. I mean, you say 100%, but can you be sure?
No.
Most guys who have that surgery end up having hip replacement. Those are normal people, much less NFL athletes. So somewhere in his future, he's probably going to have an operation. Now, hopefully, it's after a long career. But man, I hope he's not hampered at all by that. Because I just want to see him on Sundays throwing the ball the way he throws it.
Do you know that I have Carson Palmer's Heisman in my man cave?
You do?
Yeah. I asked.
You just bought it at auction?
No. He had it in his garage, and I said, well, if you're not using it, send it to me. He packed it up and sent it. So I have it in the man cave.
Like on loan, right? Like it wasn't a permanent gift. It's
well,
a loan.
He might have to come and get it.
Man.
He might have to come and get it, but he sent it.
I'm walking around. I have some like Heisman winners only swag that I wear. I thought that was cool. I don't have a trophy. I bow down to you, man. That's amazing.
Hey, I know. Hey, great to talk to you. I hope the family is good. My best to Jen, and I'll be following you on Twitter. Thank you, bud.
Well, Instagram. Who cares about Twitter?
Oh, Instagram. My bad. Instagram.
Yeah. Send people to Instagram. It's much more. It's much better for quarantine. You can expand on things. So just I don't. I'm off Twitter. I'm on the Instagram.
Instagram.
We'll do this again. I enjoyed it. Be well. Be safe.
All right. Thank you. That's Chris Fowler.